Okay, everybody? Yes. We're doing a fly developed by Mike Laskowski from Oil Creek Outfitters. It's called an Oil Creek Stone, and what it resembles is the early black stones. And the pattern, it's called oh, mic me up. It's an Oil Creek Stone, but it's really similar to a fly called a deerhead caddis. Dorothy, you know about that. I sent you that link. So it's pretty basic. Take these off. And what we're going to do is start our thread behind the eye. And you can start this right behind the eye. We're not going to worry about leaving room. You know, we always teach to leave a small gap behind the eye so you don't crowd the fly. Don't worry, because our finishing knot's going to be back on the wing. So do a little jam knot, wind back to the bend, and then just stop right there. Now, what I'm going to do is, I need black rabbit. Here's a dispenser.
You're on a leash.
I'm on a leash. Am I still good?
Yep, you're good.
Okay.
I got you.
Got it? Okay. So we're going to pre-prepare our materials. We're going to take black rabbit fur and some of this charcoal antron. And we're going to mix a 50-50 mixture. So, you know, you take a pinch of black. You guys can do this now if you'd like. You know, pre-prepare your materials. I'm going to take a pinch of black and a pinch of antron. Now, the antron is a little long. So I'm going to chop this up, you know, 1/4, 3/8. It's like 2 cuts. And I'm going to hand blend it. So it's just, you know, hand over hand, get it nice and mixed up. And the antron adds, I don't know, a little life to the fly, a little sparkle to the body. And I'm going to put that aside. Everybody, we're going to need to pass this out. Here, I got one right here. The next thing I'm going to do, now I'm not sure if Mike hackled these or not, but Leo says he did, so we're going to hackle ours. And I'm going to take the stem, I've got a black dry fly saddle, and I'm just going to strip off a few barbs from the end. And that's just going to leave me a small base to tie in. So now that's all set. We'll do the deer here later. So it's pretty easy. We're going to double body with our mixture of antron and rabbit. If you're going to do a caddis, like a green caddis, you would use, you know, an olive green dubbing with maybe clear antron, or if you can find, you know, a good match, use that. Wapsi has a nice mixture called Wapsi Life Cycle Dubbing. It's basically the same thing, but they have one called black stonefly. So since this represents the early black stoneflies, that would be a perfect match. So I'm going to dub the body. Back that off a little bit. And then I'm going to kind of reverse taper it back down to about a hook's gap behind the eye. So easy enough. Now, I'm going to wind this thread back about 20% of the hook. Next, I'm going to cut a clump of medium brown deer here. And it's a small clump. And if we've done elk hair caddis and stoneflies and stimulators, so you kind of know how much you need. But it's a small clump. We'll clean out the underfur. So, where's the camera right there? I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
About that much. And we're going to stack it. And we got nice even tips. Now, I'm not going to take this out of the tube yet. I want to orient the tips. Normally, the tips face towards the back. On this fly, we're going to tie the tips facing out over the eye. So, I want them oriented this way, like so. Now, we're going to tie, we're 20%, 25% back from the eye of the hook. I'm going to measure. I'm going to measure the length of the hook itself, from the eye to the bend. I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to add a little bit, like about 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch here. So about that's the tying point. Now, if you hold your scissors in your hand while you tie, you can on this. You got to put your scissors down because we're going to now meet our fingers together, flip hands, and boom, cut that flush. Put the scissors down. Move this back, and we're going to place these butts just past the tie-in point. We flip hands again, and we're going to make a couple of wraps and pull. Wrap, pull, and we're going to make sure these butts are laying on top of the fly. We're not spinning around the hook, and that should keep these tips from spinning around the hook. And we're going to lock this in. So now we're going to do the deer head. And I could use a bodkin. I usually don't need a bodkin. We're going to make like a little bullet head on this. So you could take a bodkin and fold it over. I really don't find a need to do that. But we're going to kind of get these hairs nice and oriented and straight. Then we're going to, I got to make sure my thread's back at that 20% mark. We're going to take this, fold it over, and now we're going to take our thread and wrap 20% back, like so. And now we have a little deer body hair head on this. And now we could whip finish and finish the fly right here, but we're going to add hackle to this because Mike swears it works better with the hackle. So now what I did, I got this already pre-clipped. Just a little bit of a butt. And I'm going to put that, okay, also, let's see. The shiny side up, the concave side down. Here it is. And since I got this little butt, I'm gonna tie it in, I won't have to clip, right? I can just lay that where the first barb meets my thread wraps, and I could add that in, and any little butts on top of the head, it just blends in with the hair. So right there. So I get that in. I always like to take one wrap behind it, kind of gets that feather to stand nice. And I'm gonna wrap two turns. Lock the thread down, or the hackle down. We clip it. And whip finish this. You can kind of let the thread slide right down the head, and it'll slide down the head and right up to the hackle. And that's it. The next step is to use head cement or lacquer, and you want to cement this head for durability. And also because our finishing knot is on a larger diameter, so you really can't cinch it down real tight as if it was on the hook, we'd be able to cinch down tighter. But can you see how it looks from their side? Okay, looks good. Can you zoom in on that, or?
Yep.
Or can I just hold that up to the camera?
There you go.
There we go. I can't. I don't.
You're on.
So that's it. It's pretty simple. My hair, I'm probably a little long on the wing, but that's okay. A lot of stoneflies, their wings are sometimes twice as long as the body. Some they're 50% longer, some are, but that's fine. And it gives that fluttering effect too. As the fish is looking up from underneath, it's just, they see a blur. And stoneflies, when they come back to the water to lay, like females to lay their eggs, you'll see them fluttering on the water. So that kind of gives you that effect. Hackle-wise, you can use a shorter, it doesn't have to be like 1.5 times the hook gap. It could be a little shorter, could be a little bit longer. What I do is I actually end up clipping a lot of the hackle off the bottom of the fly anyway and get it to ride a little more flush. But it gives, from my understanding, the deer head gives it a better silhouette than, say, if we did like an elk hair caddis cut and that triangular cut. But there it is.
Is that strictly an early season pattern?
Yes, if you're using it as a black stonefly. You can also tie this like tan caddis, bright green caddis, dark green caddis, cream. You get a corresponding body and a hackle color, and you tie the same.
You would just change the dubbing color.
Right, just the dubbing color.
It also works good for flying ants.
Yeah, I could see that.
That happened.
Oh, in Penn's Creek. Yeah, I was there that day.
We didn't have anything in our box.
No, I ended up using a Griffith net or something like that. Then we all got up back to camp and tied all these flying ant patterns. The next day we all came. We were all excited, and no flying ants. But it was an experience.
This fly will be starting around the middle of March.
Well, it starts. It usually starts around March 1st is when you really see, yeah, as long as the water's clear, you'll start seeing. Now, a lot of people, rightfully, stoneflies are known to crawl out of the water and hatch on rocks, hatch above the water. They'll cling on debris. On the bigger streams, they'll work their way to the surface and hatch midstream. Penn's Creek, Oil Creek, Little Juniata, you'll see these, you'll look on the bottom or on the edge and you won't see the stoneflies, they're all out in the middle. They take a very long time to emerge. If they emerge midstream, it's a long process. They got to unfold their wings, the wings have to dry, It's usually cold, takes it longer. So if you see real heavy splashes, you want a nice hackle fly. If you just see little sips, that's where I cut off the hackle on the bottom, because they're taking like the motionless ones, this free drift, and sometimes they like the fly. It's like a cat chasing a toy, you know. They see something moving and they'll pounce on it. Just a predatory reaction. So any questions?
Good job.